All right, we're on. Okay, so the chair is going to bring to order the May 30th, 2017 Single Family Design Board. Is there anyone in audience wishing to address the board on any item not on today's agenda? Seeing no one come forward, the chair will close public comment and bring it back for approval of minutes of our Single Family Design Board meeting of May 15th. Do I have a motion for approval? Do I have a second?
I second it.
Okay, let's go through each of the items. The first one is 1135 Harbor Hills Drive. Comments, corrections? Item number 2, 1201 Del Oro. Number 3, 139 Loma Media Road. Number 4, 1625 Overlook Lane. Hearing no further comment. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? So carried. Let's go to the consent calendar for Monday, May 22nd.
The minutes for the May 22nd consent agenda are as follows. Item A, 1676 Franceschi Road, received approval of review after final as submitted. Item B, 18 South Voluntario Street, received final approval as submitted. Item C, 318 East Arriaga Street, received project design approval and final approval as submitted with the NPO findings. And item D, 1540 Franceschi Road, was continued indefinitely to the staff hearing officer with the positive comment that the board found the proposed open yard modification aesthetically appropriate and reasonable due to the constrained site, and the project does not pose consistency issues with the single-family design guidelines or city ordinances.
Okay, do I have a motion for approval?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Okay. Any questions or comments? Okay. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? So carried. Let's go to consent calendar for this morning, Tuesday, May 30th.
The minutes for the May 30th consent agenda are as follows. Item A, 3102 Seacliff, was continued indefinitely to consent due to the applicant's absence. Item B, 1310 Crestline Drive, received final approval with the comment for the applicant to submit a color board noting the colors and materials to match existing. And item C, 515 Fellowship Road, was continued 1 week to consent at the applicant's request.
Okay, thank you. Do I have a motion for approval?
So moved. Yes.
Okay, we have no, that's a motion. Do I have a second?
I second it.
Okay, we have a second. Any further comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? So carried.
Mr. Chair, I have
Yes.
a comment regarding, I want to go back to the minutes of the Single Family Design Board, and if Katie could confirm.
On the which agenda?
The agenda, the Single Family minutes for May 15th.
Yes.
My understanding is that the project on 1625
I'm going to make an
Overlook-
announcement.
You're going to make an
Yep.
announcement of that? Okay.
Okay.
I withdraw my comment.
Okay, so that's going to have an announcement. Okay, and then speaking of announcements, that's where we are. So, Katie, you have announcements.
Yes, please. So first, I'd like to announce Denise will not be at today's meeting. She's out sick. And then comment regarding, or an announcement regarding 1625 Overlook Lane. The project was appealed by Ms. Main, which was the neighbor, I believe, to the westerly side. And it's scheduled, or to be scheduled in September. So
Okay.
it'll be some time before we see that project again. And then I just wanted to respond. I know last week Bernie had a question about the appeal period and how we could go about maybe extending that, or she had questions. So I talked to Jaime about the appeal period, and he said that the appeal period was debated heavily for about 3 years, and to open that back up to reconsideration, it would have to be a significant issue to warrant a reconsideration by City Council. So if you have any questions, you can maybe talk to him more about that, but that was what he noted to me.
Okay, so it's basically a legislative action by council that stipulates the
Yes.
appeal period. Okay.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
So speaking, am I on? No? Hello. So can you, when we have the announcements at the beginning of our meeting, I know there's another appeal coming up on the Mesa. Can you give the information, or is that wouldn't that be something we would want the public to know about?
Information about what?
About
of the
another appeal.
We rely on staff to advise us that the appeal has been accepted and is being agendized, so that's the process.
Yeah, so I make an announcement
It's going to be on the
anytime.
agenda for, okay.
The appeal has to come in, and then the city clerk has to agendize that to city council, who then accepts it and then begins to set the date. So we rely on staff to report to us.
So if there was an appeal, I don't think I've seen it yet.
No, it's coming.
Yeah,
in
so
2
you,
weeks.
yeah, so you have to wait till, you have to wait till it actually is officially accepted by the city clerk's office. Even
No,
though-
it is. It's all in the works.
Well, but it's not back through staff.
It's
so it has to
being
come
heard
from
by
staff.
city council. I wouldn't report on that.
You wouldn't. So how does the public know?
So they would have to get a mailed notice from the city council hearing. That's not something that SFDB would send out any kind of notice for. That's separate.
Okay. So just to clarify, so that if there's a project that people are interested in, they should make sure to get their name and
I would talk to the
address.
secretary for.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else? Any other announcements, Katie?
No, Mr. Chair.
Okay. We should go ahead and do a roll call, please.
Okay, for Tuesday, May 30th, Chair Sweeney,
Here.
Vice Chair Miller,
Here.
Bernie Bernstein,
Here.
Lisa James, Joseph Matisha.
Here.
We have quorum.
Okay, thank you. Oh, I almost forgot. Brian contacted me. He didn't attend, but I saw Bernie there for a brief period.
Yes.
Last Thursday was
Yes.
the annual advisory committee meeting.
Yes.
Ariel Colon, the city attorney, had another issue come up, so he didn't attend, so we didn't have any
Okay.
issues on conflict of interest, et cetera. So Paul Casey basically and the mayor just outlined the major issues sitting in front of council that are coming up, involved around the 1% proposed sale tax, which the council has yet to adopt and put on the ballot. It'll go on the November ballot. There's ongoing issues with vitality of State Street and the space, et cetera. Lots of discussion about AUDs and ADUs, those two points. I think
Or
those
say
were
what those are, just so if
Okay.
anybody's listening.
ADUs is accessory dwelling units. That's the new state law that basically went into place January 1st that says any single-family home in the city has the right to put a secondary dwelling unit without a discretionary review by the city. They just have to obtain proper building permits. There are some restrictions, and city staff has been directed to begin the process, and apparently they're hiring or interviewing a consultant to come up with a new city ordinance that would be adopted based on the rules allowed under the state law. And then the AUD is accessory unit, average unit density projects in the city that have mushroomed in terms of applications, and so there's a lot of concern. So that discussion went back and forth. There's a committee working on it as appointed by the city council. It's going to work its way back, I guess, for more discussion in front of council. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Anything else? Okay. If not, let's go to 2001 Stanwood Drive. Yes, if you'll come. Just come up here and we'll share with you how to do this.
I'm here on behalf of Dylan Chappelle.
Okay, well, hold on. This is all being recorded, so you're going to need to say your name and that you're here.
For the record, my name's Mackenzie Combs. I'm here on behalf of Dylan Chappelle.
Okay, thank you. This is for review after final. for request to revise architectural details, including revised windows and doors and a revised roof plan to change the approved two-piece mission tile roof material to a Borel S-tile with a two-piece boosted Barcelona caps on all edges and the first 3 rows on all eaves and with boosted caps mixed in for 15% of the field. Project was last reviewed on April 17, 2017. Mr. Miller, could you read what our action was, please?
Yeah, number 1, the board found that the boosted Barcelona style caps already placed on the roof are acceptable. Number 2, provide a detailed diametric roof plan drawing showing that the layout as it will appear in the field that meets the general SFDB guidelines as proposed in the applicant's letter dated April 17, 2017, including changes made to the proposed two-piece S-tile roof material configuration and any roof plan changes, including the edge condition detail using the two-piece S-tile roof material. Also, if concrete is stacked under the S-tile roof material, it should be stacked under each S-tile roof piece or not done at all. Number 3, as requested by the board, include on the revised detailed plans and or revised elevations any further details, including locations of windows, door openings, columns, chimneys, and any other changes made since the previous approval on August 2nd, 2016. Action carried by Miller, second by Schoppendal, 5-1 abstained by Sweeney opposed, excuse me.
Okay, thank you. Okay, if you could share with us how you address those comments, please.
Okay. For number 2, we drew out the roof plan. Added some notes. Shall I put these here?
Yes,
or-
put it right here. It's on a camera above you. Turn it around.
Got a roof plan here for you guys. I have another copy if that's helpful.
Oh, we have them already.
That's it.
Are they the same sets?
Those look a little different. I don't know if that's just the print
Okay,
quality.
so you need to take one of those and load it over there. You have 3 copies? Just 2?
I've got a smaller set.
That's fine. I think this would. I'm good.
You're good?
Joe and-
All right, well, I'll speak over here.
I think I've got
You
the
guys take
same.
that. Okay.
Yeah, I think this is the same. It's just a different print quality.
Okay. All right, so if you could show us what you did.
Sure. As that note requested, we put our Boreal two-piece boosted Barcelona tile note on that sheet. We also drew this so that each individual tile could be identified, and the way that it would be used is further articulated on the elevation sheets. We have our 2 details here, one for the typical rake and one for the typical eave. I believe those satisfy number 2. As far as the detail of the diagrammatic roof plan drawing goes, if not, I need to be advised on how a diametric roof plan is drawn.
I think
So
this
can
is
we look
it.
at the elevations?
Yeah, of course.
That's your diagrammatic plan right there.
Okay.
And I see delta 1s here. Are those the changes in the window locations, et cetera?
That's for number 3, correct.
Okay. Okay, do you have anything else to bring to our attention?
As far as number 2, I do not.
Okay, and 3?
For number 3, we have, as you can see, drawn the delta 1 and the cloud around each one of the window locations.
So these were eliminated,
Correct.
okay?
The purpose for that was, I guess, the contractor and the owner on site decided that these were better based on different window sizes and different window locations. I went out to the site and I taken pictures and documented each one of these changes. These are as-built drawings.
So it appears that most of, or not most, but several windows have been taken out and just a couple have been put in.
Correct.
That window is that window, right? No,
No, this one was just increased in size.
and that's a new window.
Correct.
Okay. Okay, anything else?
The chimneys, this chimney here, was also moved, and the reason for that was the wall that chimney is on currently had two windows on it. They faced a slope. The owner and the contractor decided they didn't want that view or need that view, and the chimney was installed on the wall instead.
So that's this,
Correct.
so there was windows here taken away and the chimney got moved back in.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Anything else?
It's not on here, but I was just told to inform you guys or let you know that the ADU that was a part of this permit has
Yeah.
since been moved on to a separate permit
Okay,
and is not a part of this
Review.
review.
okay.
Do you mean ADU or AUD?
No, ADU.
Accessory dwelling unit.
It had an
Accessory?
accessory dwelling that we were viewing last time, and apparently now it's been pulled away so that we're not able to review it.
Ah,
That's correct, Mr. Morris?
That is correct.
Shaking your head, okay. Right, anything else?
That's all, I believe.
Right, then it's back to the board for questions, but before we go there, is there anyone in the audience wishing to address this project? Katie, did we get any written correspondence?
No, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Cheryl, close public comment. Bring it back to the board for questions.
Yeah, I have a question. Why
Yes.
was the window in the powder room eliminated?
The window in the powder room on the first floor,
Yeah.
I believe it was moved. This is what I was talking about, that was moved.
Oh,
I don't know why that one was eliminated.
So you need to be able to
Oh, sorry.
speak to
Sorry,
this
sorry.
drawing
yeah.
Okay.
into the microphone, because it's all being recorded. So you're looking at floor plan?
2.2.
2.2.
Sorry, guys.
Okay, so there was a window here and it got taken away,
It did, yes.
okay?
I think that's I was just
Okay.
wondering why you did that.
Right? Other questions?
yes, Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
Just trying to identify, we're on page A31, and we're trying to figure out what the garage door material is.
Down here?
You show a detail,
19 and
19A62, but we don't have an
A62. We have an A62 in the old set. Do we have the old set?
Right there.
Here's an old set, let's see.
Yeah, you've got an old set right there.
No,
No, but it doesn't have any
A3 is.
A3. There's no A62.
I have an architect scale.
Yeah.
I don't see an A62 in the old sets.
Oh, so in the sets that were approved for final? This is a review after final, so in theory, an A62 should exist somewhere. Okay, they're going to have to go dig it out.
Because
We
we
just-
want to know what it
Can you
is.
just let him tell you?
Answer.
Yeah, just answer the question. What is the material for these roll-up doors?
I actually don't know. I was on site. I didn't see them installed.
Okay, so they're not installed yet? Okay, all right. Well, Katie just went upstairs to pull them. Okay, other questions? Okay. So, and we don't have the elevations of what this thing looked like before these changes were made, right? Or yes?
Did this set show? No. This is the same one.
Okay, so does anybody need to, let's see if we can All right, so, okay, so here this might help everybody for what was here and what, so there was this little window right here that got taken away. There is, I don't know what N31 is. N31 is a scupper. Okay, so it got moved, okay, from here to there. Which looks a little strange. And then there was window under here. They duplicated that over here. There was a smaller window here. They've done that. That smaller window goes into a bathroom or something upstairs? No, the same thing.
I believe it's a hall.
This was 3, now it's 2.
Yeah.
There was this large set of windows here that went away on whatever that room is downstairs. That we talked about, that was that little window. This, oh, there was a whole balcony here. That all went away, so that got taken out of the project. So there was a balcony off the second floor. Did that show? I want to see what it was before.
It's on the plans.
Okay, so, it was a balcony and a staircase. That went away, and so today, it's not there. So it's gone away, so that's gone out of it, okay? And,
What's happening right here? Is that just
is that a grade?
dies?
So this is a slope here. This
Oh,
is
it
a
dies
hill.
into that
This is
slope.
how they're accessing the build currently. I think that'll be a driveway. I don't.
Oh, I see.
don't
Okay,
know.
yeah. Sure.
Yeah, let me just check something here. Oh, okay, that's on that side. Okay, gotcha. Okay, and there was, that changed. Let's go back to the. And then there was 2 windows over there on the south elevation. So those 2 windows went away. Those 2 windows are changed also. See, those are bigger, these are smaller, so these actually got changed. And then there is kind of 2 windows here. I guess those are the same, more or less. No, something's not right. Oh, okay, so there was another, okay, so those are the 2 windows there. Okay, and then that window went away on this elevation. So it's showing up as a door in this whole staircase thing. That's not there anymore. And then on the first floor, this got changed. That went from 2 to 3. So that all got changed. This got changed. There was something in front of that in the old drawing. I don't know what that was. We'd have to look at the plan.
In the old drawing?
Yeah, in the old drawing, there is something. It was open to something below. I don't know where that went. Light well or something. That went away. Okay, and then, so that window is different. It's smaller. This window was that window, and that went away. That window doesn't show, but there it looks, the corner shows up, so that's there. What else? That door got changed completely. This door got taken away. That was that door. That's those windows. Then there was a little window up here that got taken away. That's the same. That's the same. And those are the same. Okay. So does everybody see all the changes that were made?
In short, they kind of
They just
neglected, they've neglected to catch everything.
Exactly.
Should we just,
Well, let's finish questions. So does everybody understand the changes now? Okay. So is there any more questions?
Well, Katie was going to find out
Oh.
about the
Did we figure out what or where those sheets went to? No? Yes? Maybe?
What was the sheet number?
A6, hold on,
A6.2,
A6.2,
retail 19.
detail 19. So does it say what the materials are or what it is? You can bring it here, I can look at it. All right, let's see, 19. 19. Garage tour per schedule. And
that's what I would have put on there.
we don't know where the schedules are on the sheet. We'd have to look at here, photos, structure, details, that doesn't tell us. That looks like a schedule. Okay. Air quality, oh, that's the air quality. Well, it appears, the only thing I can show is, Bernie, it looks like that's what's there now. So it's a set of doors with glass lights in the top panel.
Okay. They look like wood doors, though.
Okay? All right, other questions? Got my stuff mixed up. Okay, if not, let's go to comments. This applicant's requesting approval of all the changes they've made, including the roof material.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I just realized, I just looked at the name on the thing. I thought that this owner had sold this years ago, but years and years and years ago, I sold this, so I'm going to step out.
Okay. All right.
I have some comments, Mr. Chair.
Yes, go ahead.
This is not architectural exterior, but interior. This is a suggestion. This design area in here is, number one, I'm regretting the fact that you got rid of a window. I think that's a mistake. One of the things you could do with that little window is something really cute, which is something that T.W. Smith with some kind of cute ironwork on it. I would recommend returning that small window for the bathroom. Also, the whole placement of this bathroom, I would try to push it so this is a complete square dining room. Your closet should be a minimum of 2 feet deep. There's ways of cheating. You can thin the wall here because you don't see the depth of the wall. This is a 2x4 wall. You should make it a 2x6 wall, kind of match. This whole approach here can be, and I don't understand why this is so thick, but I'm just saying this is design-wise, this could be improved quite a bit so that you can have more room in the dining room and work with your powder room and make it flow a little better. That's my only comments, I think, at this point. But yeah, I think I would recommend putting that window back in.
Thanks.
Other comments? Okay. All right, if there's no further comments, I will be voting no on this project, as I did last time. This applicant has repeatedly ignored the city's process, not only on this project, but previous projects. And I'm just not going to buy into that he can do whatever he wants and then come back and beg forgiveness after the fact. And I personally just find that not acceptable. So I will be voting no.
I think we looked at this project before and we mentioned that we would like everything changed And you still haven't bothered to cloud the things that are changed, and I don't want to see it back again unless somebody makes it a point to proofread the whole set of drawings. You know what I mean by proofread?
Other comments?
And if it's not proofread, I'll just reject it again. You'll be coming back and keep coming back.
Other comments? Okay, if we have no other comments, the chair would entertain a motion.
Sure, Brian.
Mr. Chair, if I could just help
Yes.
with the motion. There are two areas that the board should focus in on. One is the actual S-tile application and whether or not you find that it's an acceptable treatment. And you gave direction on that. And the only thing I noticed that there wasn't, I think, anything discussing the ridge detail and that what you wanted to happen on the ridge. And secondly, the issue of as-built changes, again, as-built meaning that they were done before approval. We always like you to evaluate projects as if it hasn't been constructed. Does it meet guidelines? And focus in on that aspect, because ultimately, if there is a denial, you have to make findings as to why the changes are not acceptable.
I have comments, Mr. Chair. I feel that the changes are acceptable, but yeah, I do think we need a ridge detail of this tile, and I guess from the impressions I got, they're not going to do any concrete at all under the tiles. It's going to be, which is fine. I think that's appropriate. Either you do it all, go all the way, or don't do it at all. Otherwise, it looks silly. But as far as the sizable, if this was a new project, I think it's fine.
When these plans come in with our
Oh,
approval, are they switched with, is the new set of plans switched and the old set of plans been stamped and everything thrown away? Is that,
No, we have documents that show what was previously approved.
but we do have the new set of plans.
This is what's been submitted so far. So if you don't find it acceptable, then you'd have to ask for the changes to be made.
I have another comment on the second floor. Again, it's an architectural floor plan issue, and I don't know the closet. I don't know why you didn't use that as a closet. It doesn't take up room from. That's kind of strange. You should utilize that as a closet, I think.
I'll weigh in. I agree the aesthetics currently seem okay to me, and I don't know how we are supposed to or not respond to the process issue.
Well, I think Jaime was pretty clear. It's like you made changes in the field, and now you've come back for review of the changes. So we look at it as a whole new project, which includes so are the changes appropriate? So that's.
I think if I could just add, there's always a quality of materials that there's an expectation that it be met. Mm-hmm. So that would be my direction, to focus on that. And the lessening of materials, I think, is the roof. And that's where you would make the big concession to accept it. And I think the chair is stating that that was not the appropriate substitution. It's obviously a financial, issue if you make someone take off a roof that's been loaded and not acceptable. So that, to me, is the primary decision today.
I'll just elaborate a little further. Yes, this is inappropriate. It's not the right style of roof. This house deserves to have the regular two-piece mission clay tile that was originally submitted. Our guidelines say that S-tiles are only to be used in extreme cases, particularly on low-cost housing. This is not a low-cost housing project by definition. So I can't support giving this approval after final. for the roof type specifically.
Didn't we lead, if I remember right, we led them in this direction?
Oh, no, and I voted no, and you all voted yes, so
Okay, I thought we
was in the
led
minority.
them
I
in
think
this
the first
direction.
three courses were to be two-piece, and then we would allow the S-tile after that.
Yeah.
Which is
what
what
we-
what they're proposing.
Yeah.
That's what the note says.
Yep.
But I'm still it's still in disagreement that we allow this to occur.
If this is final, I mean, this is final after, review after final. That means anything that, Brian, you have said
Yeah.
has already been built,
Oh,
Right. It's already there.
already there.
I didn't do it, I just drew it
No,
as it is.
if I can clarify, I don't think the roof continued to be installed, right? It's
well, he's talking about the floor plans, and I
It's been loaded, but the exterior openings have been modified already.
Yeah. All
I got
the elevations have
well,
been
that's too
changed.
bad, because my ideas are brilliant. I don't know why.
However, it hasn't been plastered, so it's in
What's
the
that?
rough framing stage.
Brian's idea was not followed, then
No,
the roof was
he-
installed without your recommendation of the.
So
No,
they,
no,
No, this
no.
is
This is
final
still,
after.
the roof is loaded, the materials are loaded, but there was a cease work requested before they can continue. So if you were to deny the roof, they would have to remove the roof materials and hope they can get a refund based on what they've expended.
I have another question, because there's only 4 of us, and one's voting against. There's not even a quorum, so I don't even know.
No, there is a quorum. Four is a quorum.
So a 3-1 vote is valid.
Okay, got it.
One vote is valid. A 2-2 vote would cause the motion to die. Okay.
No, I just realized something they're working on.
All right,
that was
so
like
do
before
we have a
the
motion?
fire years and
We have a
years
motion on the
ago.
floor.
I sold it, so theoretically.
Just making slide comments.
Okay, so do we have someone want to make a motion? This is for review after final.
I'll make a motion.
You can accept the
Okay.
roof changes that have been proposed. You can accept the building elevations that have been shown, even though they're not complete, but you can make a comment to that effect. Or you could not approve those.
Okay, I move that we continue the project. No, take that back. With calling comments, that we accept the changes you made to the roof and presented them. But I would like to see the project back again for the comments that I previously stated, that I want to see a set of drawings that is a complete, accurate set of drawings. I'm an architect. I wouldn't turn a set of drawings in like this for a final review. It doesn't look like the building. I'm also director of archives. I look at these all the time, and some of them are finished, and some owners look at them and say, my house doesn't even look like that. And I mean, that's why I'm asking. We will have a set in the archives eventually that looks like what it's supposed to be built like.
Your charge is to accept a revision, and if you think they're reflecting accurately, you can approve it. If you're not, continue
I would
the
like to see you
request.
back, because I don't think, to full board.
So.
You don't think?
motion?
I don't
That's
know.
my motion.
So just to summarize, maybe I can just help summarize. So the motion is to accept the change in the roof as proposed and documented on this set. However, the applicant is to return to the full board with a complete set of drawings reflecting all of the changes that have been made to the home as we have discussed in this meeting and noted on the drawings.
Correct, thank you.
That's your motion, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I would like the board to elaborate slightly on the acceptance of the roof by indicating on the basis of accepting it, as I understand, is it would place a financial hardship on the applicant, or you find other reasons for why it would be. The reason I think it's important is you need to advise others out in the public why this isn't something someone should do before the fact, and the why we're accepting S-Tile here.
I would say we accept the change of the roof tile based on the financial hardship of the client with request that the first 3 rows of the tile be 2-piece mission tile, and that the roof cap ridge detail, and that we include a ridge detail, clarifying that that is also part of a 2-piece mission tile system.
Let's see where are the first three rows that are supposed to be
I think that answers it.
It's just.
So that achieves a 2-piece with this same material? This same material can be given a cap and look, or,
Yeah.
right? You're not going to put a different type of material then change over, right? You're going to use the same type of material. Okay,
With a matching material on the ridge cap.
great.
Okay, so that's a clarification or addendum to the motion that's on the
Yes.
floor? Okay.
I'd like to say one other addendum. I would like to see.
Wait, before you go to there, do you accept that?
Yes.
change? Okay,
Yes.
so does the seconder accept that? Who seconded? Okay, Lisa seconded. Okay, so she seconded the motion, she accepted that amendment. Okay, now.
I think we asked, I would like to see on the roof plan where the changes are made to the tiles. I mean, to me, this looks like the tiles are exactly the same all over, and they're not in your note. And so they're not shown in the roof plans.
So if what I'm hearing you say, I'll just use this.
We got 3 rows.
Graphically, you're saying the first 3 rows are going to be a mission tile, correct? That's what the motion is saying? So somehow on your drawing,
Show them.
you need to show it. Some diagrammatically, some way to, or, heavy these up and point a note to it, or et cetera, so that we really see it on the drawing.
And this project, like the chairman says, this project has a habit of coming back and being incomplete and changing. Don't come back.
First time I've touched it, but I agree.
Okay.
Totally.
All right, so is everyone clear on the motion, or do we need to have it reread? Mr. Lamone?
One last thing. Did we clarify what's happening on the ridge? You want a ridge detail bit. Is it with boosted ridge, or is there a preference? Because they do have notes with respect to random boosters still, the percentage. So what do you want happening on the ridge?
Like a ridge detail, a ridge cap detail showing the tile, with the tile material matching the 2-piece mission tile.
With any boosters, or just straight across with cement?
I'm thinking because there's not boosters on the regular tile, I don't think boosters would be necessary.
Okay, so that's what you should come back with.
Right, so are we clear on the motion? Do we need it reread?
No, I
All right.
understand.
Okay, further discussion? Hearing no further discussion, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, so carried. You'll be back here. Okay?
Thank you, guys.
Okay. All right, let's go to, whoops, move that back to Katie. Katie's needs one of them, and the rest can go back to you.
This? Oh.
So I got the right pew, okay. We're going to go to item number 2, 2517 Selrose Lane. This is here for project design approval and final approval requested. Project must comply with the staff hearing officer resolution number 034-17 and was last reviewed on October 3rd, 2016. If you could introduce yourself, please.
My name is Tom Oxner, project architect. Brian Broderson, landscape architect. And Nathan Reeves, representing the owners.
Turn that microphone on. Okay. Thank you. Okay. In a moment, Mr. Miller, you're going to read, I hope, what we did the last time we reviewed this.
Okay. Number 1, study to provide sound absorbing material on the interior of the concrete 6-foot wall surrounding the proposed swimming pool equipment area to reduce noise levels as much as possible. Number 2, the board finds the proposed easterly side yard, the existing house crossing over into the east and north front and interior setback modifications, and the overhangs are aesthetically appropriate and do not pose consistency issues with the single-family residence design guidelines. Number 3, the board had positive comments regarding the project's consistency and appearance, regarding the acceptable reduced square footage, the reduced size, height, and general configuration of the pool pavilion, the acceptable location of the pool as depicted on plan sheet number AS-10, and the location of the pool equipment. Provide a reduced FAR if applicable. Action taken by Woolery, seconded by Miller. Motion was carried.
Okay, thank you. So if you could share with us how you address those comments, please?
Yes, so we've got an open pool enclosure, and I think the landscape plan shows it as, it's the height line on the pool enclosure. It's not an enclosure, it's a wall.
It's a block.
It's a block wall.
Allow enclosure, 8-inch CMU, and I don't recall what the height is.
Let's see, let's go to the
6 or 8
landscape.
feet.
It's really good. It's 5 feet. The landscape plan should have that. Let's take a look at the landscape plan. Is it? Do we not have the landscape plan here? Snafu. Okay, I guess we missed the landscape plan, so what we'll have to do is we'll have to, okay, I've got it at my office. For some reason, it should have been in this
Okay.
set, and it wasn't.
All right, so you don't have it, but the wall is how high again?
Yeah, the wall is, I think it's 60 inches.
So it's 5 feet?
Yeah.
And it's concrete block or concrete block painted, finished?
It's concrete block wall, solid grouted concrete block wall.
Is it painted or just natural?
It's just natural.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
If we have a previous set of plans for this project on file, I think we have the same landscape plan in there.
So one of the things we wanted some understanding of how you're dealing with the sound. So is it just concrete block?
Right, okay, so it's concrete block. So in terms of sound absorbed from material that's exposed to the weather, there's not a lot of great options. So I know that the owner has been researching some equipment such as the variable speed pump, which is below the decibel level that the city requires. I think the decibel level the city requires is either 60 or 65. Right, and
So do we have that information? Is that being presented today? Or?
Here's the landscape plan if you want to.
okay, great, thank you.
Katie had it.
So it's over there. Oh, it's just because this is on the sheet opposite the way the other sheet is. Okay, because it's over here. Everybody catch that?
We have the wall is plus or minus 6 feet in height.
Okay, so it's 6 feet.
I think 6 feet.
Okay, and right now it's a concrete block wall, not painted, whatever the color of the concrete block is.
Okay, and then this is the, 45 decibels. That's the variable speed pump right there.
And so that's what's being submitted.
That's what's being submitted.
And that's below the city's threshold, correct? Okay. All right. Board was proposed easterly side yard, the existing house crossover into the east, and north and front interior set modifications. So can you tell us what happened with the staff hearing officer?
Yes, so we had our staff hearing officer meeting, and it was uneventful. There were, and I'll just go over again with you what was specifically approved. So technically, there was only one mod. They turned 2 into 1. The building sits over the property line right here, so that was the mod. And the fact that it's already a 2-story house, the addition to the 2-story house did not trigger the change in character, so that mod was not approved. So we also have the eyebrow that was projecting out from the face of the garage, which matches the same eave line that we have on the existing wing. That element is this piece right here, which breaks up the two-story mass of the garage and the second story above it. So in terms of elevation, that looks like this right here. So this eyebrow was approved in the mod, as well as the existing nature of the house being 1 foot over on the side yard property line. And otherwise, we've got the same, let's see here. So I think there was a color board submitted. Oh, here, I brought an extra one in case. Okay, great. So what we've got is, I've got some samples in here that I think do a little better. Here. So the roof is the Galvaloon weathered. So this would be our standing seam roof, which is depicted here. And the hardy siding is this. The wood exposed rafter tails and beams of this color. And then the wainscoting around the front, there's a low simulated poured concrete wainscoting, which is actually a plastered applied look, which is, this is just a photograph of a similar one I found in town that was just like it. So that's the palette we're looking at. Yes. It's a standing seam, so it would be just this and with 16-inch seams running down the line. Very low pitch roof.
And then the FAR is where at this point?
It's been where let's see if it's original review. I believe it's right at 85. Is that the case?
Let's see, where is your, oh, here it is, okay.
84.
84%. Okay. All right, anything else to present?
I think that's it. Yeah, nothing changed on the landscape.
Okay. All right, then we're going to bring it back. Before we go to questions, I do have one speaker, and do we have any written correspondence?
No, Mr. Chair, no written correspondence.
Alan, is it Hexander?
Alexander.
Alexander, okay, I'm sorry, I didn't see the A. If you could come up and speak into this microphone, please. Is that microphone on? Yes,
Yes.
that one's right there, thank you.
Got some photographs. These represent the issue that we have. We are at 219 Balboa Drive, which is directly below the property. As far as I know of, the water essentially all goes downhill towards our property. And we had some significant mud and water damage coming into our property below. And I wanted to raise this issue. Mr. Ziv stepped up and helped us, helped mitigate on a very temporary basis, his landscape architect as well. We kind of got together, came up with some temporary mitigation issues. But obviously this is a big property, has a lot of water hitting it, and I think the vast majority of it comes our way rather than going out to Selrose Lane. And I would just like to encourage that a civil engineer, perhaps, I would have a whole lot more confidence and feel a lot safer if a civil engineer could develop the appropriate calculations or whatever to determine whether the current landscape plan really will handle the load of water that we were subjected to this year.
Okay. Right. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Let's kind of, before we go to questions, because of this issue, can you clarify, this is a tier 2, so could you kind of maybe just review that corner of the property and show us what's going on?
Yeah.
That might be helpful.
So there's a gentle slope. This is the existing plan right here. So you can see the topography here. So, you know, the low area is down here, and there's some hard surface here. This is basically permeable except for this structure, which sheds off and probably introduces some water currently right there. So the way that this parcel is the way it's been for quite some time, well before my client purchased the property. So the proposed plan is obviously to make this situation better in the sense that we have permeable material and downspouts, and we're absorbing the water in this area. If we look at the proposed plan.
If I may?
Yeah.
So what we did was we made sure that everything from this point forward is all going to the front of the building. And then the existing drainage that's here on this slope, we changed this so that we have an infiltration location, an intermediate location here where water could be absorbed in a way that's not now. All this is paved currently. And then we've planted this entire edge, which is not currently planted also. And we've created more landscape over on this side. But that's what we have currently. It is a tier 2. It does require that we have a BMP, which we do. And that's sort of what we've got at the moment.
And just so everyone understands, can you translate PMP?
Best management practice, which means employ one technique to slow down stormwater and encourage infiltration in a place that's appropriate, of course.
Okay, we're going to go to questions, but I'm just going to follow right on this conversation so we're all real clear. So historically, the water that you've now made sure is going in that direction towards Selrose, about mid part of the site, that historically didn't happen.
No, I mean.
So currently, without this proposed project, there was water coming this way from the top.
Right, it flows that way.
So this project is going to take a lot of that water and direct it the other way now.
Well, it's going to perk it in this area.
Right,
rather
and
than let it flow off.
then so the percolation element is in here, and that is, do we have that detailed on the drawing somewhere, what that looks like, or
Yes.
noted?
Well, I don't know if we have a detail in our set or not.
But essentially, why
It's
don't
a
you just
standard-
quickly
yeah.
describe what that is?
Okay, the way that works is, let me go here, I can not lean over. So the way that works is there's usually be a 10 to 18 inch gravel, basically a gravel French drain type situation.
Okay.
There would be decorative boulders and things like that. The water from the gutters are directed to that, and that relieves a significant amount of the water from the roof, and it slows it down as well. Also, I didn't point out on the property line, there's a fairly significant planter that runs along the entire top of the property line.
Here.
And that's intended to handle some infiltration as well.
So is that what I'm seeing over on
We are-
this photograph? Is that wall? Whoops. This one?
It's on the other side of that fence.
So there's actually something else on the other side of what I'm looking at here, because that fence represents the fence along here.
Is
Correct.
this the neighbor's yard right here?
That's the neighbor's yard.
Maybe yard is down here.
That's what
Yeah.
we're looking at here.
The key point is right now, this is just a paved road. It's down to that point here, which is a shed.
So there's a lot of water.
Water, right now, it's taking this way.
I think the big
Essentially, you're trying to turn the water to go the other way.
I think the big thing that speeds up the water and causes some of the problem on this particular property is that there is a driveway that runs down the entire slope on the side of the existing building.
Mm-hmm.
It would be right along here.
And that's going away.
And that is going away. That'll be part of the building. It'll be level and it'll be landscaped.
All right, so
They're going to do a lot of grading.
you get this all to switch around. And
Yes, and it is true that also that we do have it currently graded on the landscape plan so that the water will move in the opposite direction across the lawn toward the street.
Okay, thank you. Are there other questions? Okay, if there are no further questions, then we are due for comments, and they're requesting project design approval and final approval. Final approval means they have a complete set of plans.
Can I see the color board?
Yes.
Mr. Chair, I'll just chime in. It looks like they followed through on our comments, so I could support the project.
Other comments?
Yes, I feel the water issue has been adequately taken care of, and that you have addressed our request from the last time, so I too can support it.
Okay. Before I get to other comments, Katie, I do have a question. On Tier 2, and maybe our landscape folks, on Tier 2, is this supposed to address a 100-year event?
I don't believe so.
Okay. 50-year event? So if you could check that. So essentially, what they're proposing under Tier 2 guidelines should mitigate most all major water events, but it's not a guarantee, correct? If I understand it? I mean, it's not going to, we have a 500-year flood, it's not going to, rain event, we're not guaranteed that it works out.
Show me a picture of the existing right now.
Excuse
Show a
me?
picture of the existing,
Site plan.
just
House.
elevation.
Oh, the existing house. Yeah, that's right here.
Right.
There you go. These are some shots.
Okay. All right, other comments?
Okay, I was
Yes.
just wondering on the pavilion, did we look at, I know it's there now.
So it's gone away, it's not there anymore.
Oh, it's going to go away.
Yeah.
Well, the existing shed that's there is being demolished, but we are proposing a small pavilion on the property as a part of the scope.
It's cute.
On the westerly side of the property.
So, yeah, that's
It's on sheet A 3.3.
Very simple, kind of. That's going to be a trellis area. And then
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right, other comments? Okay, if we have no other comments, then the chair would entertain a motion. The applicant is requesting project design approval and final approval.
do we have all the details?
Well, you want us to go through the set?
Let's do that.
Okay. Let's start with first sheet.
Existing site plan, proposed site plan, demolition plan, existing roof plan, proposed floor plan, proposed second floor plan. These are the plans for the cabana. This is the roof plan. These are the existing elevations documenting what's there. These are the proposed elevations. And this is the pavilion. These are the building sections. This is the ceiling framing. These are the interior elevations. Interior elevations, window and door schedules, window, eave, rake, roof conditions. The odd eyebrows and some of the outlooker details. The electrical plans. That's it.
Okay, and the landscape plans are what we saw a
Landscape
minute
plan,
ago.
we've got a copy of it here. Yeah, we'll have to put that to the set.
Okay.
And I can bring, well, I think we have one record set, so we can include that with the record set.
We reviewed and
You looked at it, yeah. Nothing's changed since we,
Yeah. Yeah, we haven't approved it because they had to go to the staff hearing officer. They've now done that process. They're back here to officially get design approval, and they're also asking, though, at the same time for consideration for final approval.
So, Mr. Chair, if I may, if you approve this set, you're approving a set without a landscape plan because this set did not get any approval, so, just to be clear.
So
could we include the landscape plan?
can that
we just
plan
looked
be a
at?
part of this? 'Cause that's what we reviewed previous, correct?
The issue is that does not include all the landscape. We have like 8 or 9 sheets. We have irrigation
Okay,
plans,
all
we
right.
have planning plans, we have
So-
all that, some
so
construction details.
Could I
all
offer this
finished.
as a possible, there's no motions made at this point, but as a possible offer, should the board be inclined to give this project design approval,
Come back to consent with the landscape.
and they could come back to consent for final with all the full set of landscape and any additional drawings. That's an option that can be exercised. Okay, so if there's no further discussion, the chair would look for a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Okay?
I move to give this project design approval with the comments to come back to the consent for final approval with the inclusion of a complete landscape plans. The drawings are consistency and appearance are consistent with the scenic character of the city, enhance the appearance of the neighborhood. The compatibility is appropriate to the site, quality of architecture, the proposed structures is appropriate, and you have followed good neighbor guidelines. That is my motion.
Is there a second to the motion?
I second it.
Okay. I'm going to suggest to the maker of the motion they add one other thing, that also to include the Tier 1 civil drawings.
Tier
Tier
2.
two, excuse me, tier
And to
2.
include the Tier 2 civil drawings.
Is that acceptable to the second of the motion?
Yes.
Yes, okay. All right. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? So carried. Okay, so you'll go to consent calendar, and just so the neighbor understands, the board was specific about the Tier 1 civil engineering drawings that'll accompany this to the... Tier 2, excuse me, I wanted to say Tier 1. Tier 2 drawings that'll be coming with these documents to the consent calendar. The consent calendar is at 11 o'clock every Monday. I don't know when it'll be scheduled, and it's reviewed by two of us, one landscape person and one architecture person. All right. This has a 10-day appeal period. Okay, let's go to item number 3, 1135 Harbor Hills Drive. Whoops, do we have to wait?
Well, he's the applicant.
Yeah, I know, but I don't know if all of the audiences may or may not be here. Let's take a 5-minute break, and then we'll come back. Okay. 1135 Harbor Hills Drive. This is here for project design approval, and final approval is requested. Project must comply with the staff hearing officer resolution number 015-17, and was last reviewed on May 15, 2017. If you could introduce yourselves, please.
My name is Tom Oxner, project architect.
Brian Broderson, landscape architect.
Okay. Mr. Miller, could you read our comments from our last meeting, please?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Number 1, provide more comprehensive application of good neighbor guidelines on the project. Number 2, continue a dialogue with the westerly neighbor and study changing the location of the southwest master bathroom window, which is a privacy concern for the adjacent neighbor. Number 3, restudy the location of the 8-foot fence on plan sheet 8.1. Number 4, study the proposed insufficient 24-inch box size of the proposed olive tree. Provide a larger size olive tree. Action taken by Bernstein, second by Motisha. Motion was carried.
Okay, thank you. If you could share with us how you address those issues.
Absolutely. Okay, so we had a big powwow, and we all got together at the westerly neighbor's home, and they were willing to drop the request that we lower the house, which opened the door to a workable solution. And so we all, after spending a bit of time there and looking at line of sights and so forth, we came up with replacing the fence along here with a hedge. And the hedge is stated on the landscape plan as being 42 inches, so it needs to be maintained at that. It will be stated on the landscape plan. So that eliminated that fence along there, and I'm sure you remember that one.
Yes.
And as far as, let's go to the floor plan, there was a window that was right here. That window's been eliminated in the bathroom, and then, but we are going to keep these 3 windows here out of the bathroom. So basically, in a nutshell, eliminate the fence in favor of a 42-inch hedge. Brian will talk about that hedge, and then the elimination of that window. And there's a letter here, I'm sure that's been submitted, that addresses that. Let's see, I think we've got, here we go.
Yeah. So very simple change. Just this shows the existing wall. This shows the new hedge. This shows the height of the hedge.
So there is some discussion about the hedge material. So the hedge material was identified on the plan when it was submitted as.
It's So the hedge is a Myrcine africana, which is a drought-tolerant boxwood type hedge. And it came to my attention when I got here today that the applicant had, or the neighbor had suggested that we substitute Prunus caroliniana compacta instead. I will point out that the Myrcine africana is typically a 5 to 7 foot high hedge at maturity, whereas the Prunus caroliniana compacta usually maxes out at like 10 feet to 12 feet. To try to maintain that at 3.5 feet for the life of the hedge would be difficult. Typically, when you do that, of course, you get a trunk and you don't get what you're after. So I understand their request. I'd be curious to know what the intent of the request is, whether it's a leaf type or a leaf color or something like that. But I would rather specify a plant that will grow close to the height that we want to maintain it at, rather than something that will create a lot of maintenance. Also, because it's an issue of height, and the request is to keep the height down, substituting or using a plant that's going to grow much bigger presents an issue where the hedge is going to get up in their view sooner than later. So anyway, those are my thoughts on that.
Okay. Thank you. Any other comments?
Right, so basically, we're open to any hedge material that we can condition here to satisfy the situation.
Okay, thank you. Before we go to questions and comments from the board, we're going to have public comment, but if I may, you're saying a letter was submitted dated May 29th. Katie, did we see this letter?
We did not receive any.
Okay, then that's fine. It was given to me just to present to you as I'm doing.
Okay, so it's not been before the public at this point.
I did not receive any email.
You did not officially receive any letter, from Ms. Engstrom. Okay, she's asked to speak here. I guess I'm going to pose the question to the board. We only have one copy. This letter has not been officially submitted until this very moment, so we haven't had a chance to look at it.
I think Kathy found said letter.
Okay, but we haven't been able to see it. So
Right.
my question is, does the board want to take a minute to look at this letter and maybe we can get some copies made?
Is she going to address what's in that?
She might. I don't know what she's going to say here in a moment, but we do have a letter that's been sent to us.
I can probably clarify things. So I believe she's going to just go over this letter with you, and it's basically we're in concurrence.
Okay.
So I think there's probably not a need to study that letter. I think it might be presented to you right now.
Okay. Is that okay with the board?
He's shaking his head, yes, so that looks okay.
All right. Okay, so with that, then I'm going to have Ms. Engstrom come up and speak into that microphone, please. And if you could share with us or help us on this letter that's been submitted, please. Okay.
Yes, Chairman Sweeney and board members, I did want to express my support for the project, and basically the letter is supporting
Okay.
the project. And in regards to the hedge, it also does say that I do not have any objections to the boxwood hedge, and the reason why the other one was suggested is because it was to provide consistency for the fact that I have the same hedge on the opposite side of my property. If it is a problem to keep it maintained at the height that you're suggesting, then the boxwood is fine.
Okay.
I also just wanted to say that I am very pleased and in support of the PROS project and revised plans that Mr. Oshner has prepared, and I just can't thank you enough for giving us the additional 2 weeks to work on reaching a compromise. It definitely takes a good faith effort from both parties to have a successful outcome, and the meeting with my new neighbors went seamlessly.
Okay.
I am extremely grateful and relieved that some of my scenic views could potentially have been lost and are now preserved. In addition, I'm also very relieved that my new neighbors and I have agreed to do everything we can to be good neighbors to one another, which is what I believe we both truly wanted all along. And I can't thank you enough for making it possible.
Okay. Thank you. You're welcome.
Yeah, we love to hear those stories. True stories.
All right, and I have another speaker slip for Mr. Scafidi.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I just want to say thank you. The extra time was what we needed to get the parties together. Tom did a great job in advising us, and the process worked very well. That's
Great.
all. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else in the audience wishing to address this project? And Katie, I assume we didn't get any other correspondence?
No.
Okay, thank you. Chair is going to close public comment, bring it back to the board. Before we go to questions, I do have a question, and Mr. Lamone is sitting here, so Katie can't answer, maybe he can. If the board agrees with the recommendation for the hedge and the idea that it's, under this approval, it would be limited to 42 inches in height, and that it's to be maintained that way, does that stay in perpetuity with the property, or is that a stipulation on the current owner? How does that work?
Want to answer that? The city attorney has advised us that this board has the ability to condition landscape plans. And the landscape plans could be conditioned with the maintenance of a certain height to maintain peace between property owners and to establish some type of set views, if that's what you're trying to protect. It's either privacy or views that you're trying to regulate.
Understand.
Now, what the difficulty is that we usually like a range, so where we know it can be enforced. We don't want someone complaining that it's 2 inches too tall, 4 inches too tall. We need to have sort of a point where, the city will act when it's a foot taller than what the height is. But hopefully the maintenance will be done so the city isn't involved.
But my question is, does it remain with the parties or it remains with the property?
It remains with the property.
So regardless of who owns
Yes.
either property,
Right.
if we make that decision,
we will
it stays.
condition this plan that the height of that hedge be maintained at a height and make sure that that's the approved landscape plan.
Okay.
And therefore, any subsequent property owner can go back and say that was a condition of that maintenance.
Either party.
Yes.
Okay.
You will condition it if it goes into our motion.
Yes.
Yes.
You
But
should
if it
be-
doesn't, it's not.
It's on the plan, though.
Yes, that would
Yeah.
be good,
But-
that it's
but
on the plan also.
Yeah, the question is, if the board agrees with the recommendation and the height limitation, and that would be part of the approval, then it stays as a condition forever on this property. What Mr. Lamone is cautioning us, when we do make, if we were inclined to make such a motion to agree with that we may want to, in the motion, put language in there that might say something in effect, we agree with the height limitation of 42 inches plus or minus 6 or 4 inches one way or the other, so that there's some latitude for enforcement. I guess that's what your
Well,
request is.
what if we said a maximum of 42 inches?
Well, that's a different kind of motion. What Mr. Lamone is suggesting in order to allow enforcement, if you've ever tried to measure a hedge,
That's what I was wondering.
okay, you might measure 42 inches at one point, and the dirt slips away at another point, and you get 44 inches. So does that mean you got a problem?
Well, that's what I'm saying. If it's a max,
Not to exceed.
not to exceed 42 inches. So it could be less,
inches.
but it can't.
Greater?
Greater.
I'm
But
going
you know-
to let Mr. Lamone comment.
I would recommend that you allow some tolerance, maybe 4 feet, not to exceed 4 feet at any point. That way, the intent is to try to keep it at 42, and people are going to cut it down sufficiently to get there.
Okay.
It just sort of makes you wonder, though, in the long term, 10 years down the road, so House A sells, House B sells, this guy, they have a different point of view. They don't care about
But
the
I
same
understand that, but if
things.
it's on these approved drawings, at whatever way we approve it, if our motion says it's not to exceed whatsoever beyond 48 inches, that's on the drawings, they're on
Right.
file, so that if either neighbor is concerned or thinks that it's not being maintained properly, then they have to go down to the city, pull the files, look at what's on that drawing, and if it says 48 inches, it's 48 inches.
Well, sorry.
I think
Or whatever the
what I'm
number
trying to
is.
say is the city doesn't want to get into enforcement of 4 inches. That, a foot to, or something close to a foot is where the city would enter.
That's what I
So
was
you
wondering
could
why.
say that the city,
Not to exceed 48 inches.
that's when the city would be called in to enforce on it.
Got it.
Okay, got it. Okay, so you see what's going on here. Okay. All right, so that answers that question, but we're open to other questions.
I think the landscape architect has a comment.
I just wanted to interject that if the intent is to maintain it at 42 inches, then allowing a 12-inch latitude makes good sense, because typically what would happen is it'll grow during the season. They would come in however many times a year and actually, hedge it back to the correct height. Otherwise, it's going to be basically a 3-foot hedge, and that's going to be, somewhere in between. So,
Okay, other questions?
I have
Yes,
questions.
Lisa.
Yes, to Brian. I'm not seeing quantities and sizes on this landscape plan, and I think at one of our last comments that was that we wanted a larger specimen, like field-grown olive tree.
Yeah.
Yeah, the last comment we had was study the proposed insufficient 24-inch box size of the proposed olive tree. Provide a larger size olive.
Well, it just says olive, but there are no, it's not even listed on your plant list.
I know somehow I'm not sure what exactly happened with this plan because there was a plant list, and somehow something substituted or dropped it off. That's not a problem at all. The size of the plant, and be glad for you to condition that.
Okay, so a field-grown olive, then we'll add to our.
Well, I would say if you would say 36 or 48-inch box or something in that range, because we'd like to do a fruitless olive that doesn't have the pollen issues and such.
Can't get a field-grown fruitless olive?
They don't come that way.
Okay, well, the largest box, okay, 48-inch
Sure,
box.
that's fine.
Okay, other questions?
Yes, along the same line, the myrcene hedge, I'm kind of curious about that. I've in my experience, it's a very, very slow-growing hedge, and even out of a 5-gallon can, I've never seen one over 18 inches tall, and it doesn't make a consistent and screening type hedge, and I would think that you might want something more dense and a little more fast-growing that maxes out, that's not going to be a maintenance issue like the prunus would have been.
My experience is a little bit different. The myrcene, it's a very slow starter. Once it gets established, it tends to fall apart a little bit in the beginning. It tends to open. Once it gets some rigidity and it gets rooted well, then it does get big fairly fast. I have a project in Hope Ranch. I used it years ago, and after about 3 to 4 years, it was about 4.5, 5 feet tall and as wide.
Really?
Yeah.
I've never seen that.
Yeah, and it might be because people are overwatering it. It is a very, very drought tolerant plant.
Yeah, it is. It just seems always kind of uneven and sloppy to me. So
If you would allow us, we could also consider substituting something like a Raph umbellata minor.
that's what I was thinking. Raph umbellata minor, Escallonia fredesia.
We don't want Escallonia, but we want something that's going to be dark green, that'll look nice all the time, and that will require a little bit less maintenance as far as pruning, because and that's why we choose things that are slow growing.
I think the owner might be happier with the Raph.
It would look a little bit more like the prunus.
It would.
So I'm fine with that.
Okay. And then when you come, will you have a plan that has all the quantities and sizes and a complete legend?
Yes.
Okay. Those are my questions.
Okay, other questions? Okay, if not, let's go to comments. The applicant is requesting project design approval and final approval. Again, if we feel that there is some material still missing to give it final approval, we can always send it to consent calendar to complete that action.
Yeah, I have comments. I'm
Yes.
very happy with the result of how this has turned out. It's, good neighbor policies is always an ideal situation. And I also want to make a side comment. My brother lives in another town where the neighbor has graded over 900 cubic yards in his property, completely altering my brother, and he has no recourse or anything whatsoever to address the city. And I think that's what makes our community very special, is how it actually requires its neighbors to get involved in the development of our community. So I commend you. I think this is very healthy and very positive.
Okay, other comments? Okay, if we have no other comments, then the chair would look for a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Okay.
I move to give this project final approval. The board feels that, to return to consent calendar with the comments that we made for the landscape plan, which I'll elaborate on in a minute.
Giving, just to hold you up a little bit, just to get the terminology correct. You want to give it project design approval with final approval at consent.
Yes,
Okay.
project design approval with, to come to consent for final. To return with a full landscape plan that shows the 48-inch box olive tree, the change in hedge material from myrcene to Raphiolepis umbellata minor, and we can spell that for you if you like. And we feel that you have done an excellent job going over and above what you could do to bring the good neighbor guidelines in. And you've used consistency in appearance with your materials. It's compatible with the neighborhood, uses quality architecture, and that one more comment, that the hedge will be maintained at 42 inches, not to exceed 4 feet maximum.
Right, that's the motion on the floor. Is there a second to that
I'll
motion?
second.
Okay. Is there further comments to the motion? Hearing none, the chair will call for a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? So carried. So you have project design approval. That has a 10-day appeal period, and final approval will come at a consent calendar. And just so the neighbors understand, that's a meeting that's held every Monday at 11 o'clock. I don't know when it will be scheduled. That's reviewed by 2 members from this board, a landscape person and an architecture person. Okay? Right. Thank you. Okay, thank you.
We'll do it anymore.
Okay, thanks.
We have 5:10. Okay. So we're going to recess for 20 minutes, I guess, because the other applicant's not here, and it's scheduled for 5:10. Okay. 540 Franceschi Road. This is here because the staff hearing officer wants additional comments regarding the deck location and design. So before you start, I'm going to have Katie elaborate.
So this went to the staff hearing officer, and she was just wanting to send this back before you to make sure you were comfortable with the deck and the extension. She wasn't sure that it was well reviewed at consent, so she wanted to make sure everyone had a chance to look at it and make sure they were comfortable with it. So she was just asking for some additional comments.
Okay, so 2 additional questions. So no action was taken on the modification, correct?
There was a partial modification for something else, but not on
But not this piece. And then secondly, did this ever come to the full board?
No.
So
It was just a
it's
consent
coming
item.
through the process at consent calendar.
That's correct.
Okay.
No,
No,
only
this was
consent. Only consent.
The-
Only, I believe only you two have
That's
seen
why
it.
all of us wouldn't have seen it, only the consent calendar people looking at it. So, okay, that just kind of sets the context. So if you could share now us what the issue is, please.
Okay,
And introduce yourself for the record.
My name's Jim Davis. I'm the architect for the project. So this is the existing site plan here. This is the existing deck here. The portion that the staff hearing officer is asking for more comments from this board is regarding the addition. Basically, we have an approval from her right now for everything back this way.
This was the approval, and this is the portion she's asking for more comments on.
With the stipulation that the requested 4 feet of additional extension of the upper level deck to the south is removed from the project description. So she's asking whether or not we feel that this is appropriate.
Correct.
Okay. All right, so do you have an elevation?
I do. I'll go through, and we've got additional stuff here too. This is a larger scale site plan just to give you an idea of the surrounding neighborhood. here's some photos of the existing house, if we want to go back and reference that. This is existing context for neighborhood context. And then this is a view that I've taken, some photos that I've taken from the street today. This is walking in sequence, 1, 2, 3, 4 through 6, walking up the north side of the road, so as if you were driving. What I did, and it's probably a little bit higher than you would be in a car, but I was just trying to give you an idea of what you would see as you're or driving up. And the same thing for this lower. What I did is I did that in reverse because it's coming down from the north, from the west end of the property in sequence. So you get a feel for what that deck looks like right now. And then lastly, what we can do is we can just look at the elevations. So in context, again, this is what's there now. And you can see even through the paper a little bit, the 4-foot extension. So this is very constrained concise. There's not really any connection to the yard itself, so that's why this proposal is coming in front of you again too, is because the owners really want to be able to have more outdoor space. And right now they don't have that connection.
Okay.
So again, here it is along the south elevation. This is not really the best elevation to see it from, but here's a better elevation to see it again from, that 4-foot extension.
Okay. Anything else?
That's it.
Okay. Is there anyone in the audience wishing to address this project? And Katie, did we get any written?
No, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Chair will close public comment, seeing no one come forward, and bring it back to the board for questions. So, Katie, just to be clear, this was reviewed at consent. It wasn't given any approvals or et cetera, and then just sent on to single family or on to the staffing
It
room?
received positive comments for the 3 modification requests were 2 front setback modifications and the 1 open yard. I went to the staff hearing officer, and then, like I said, it got the partial approval.
So the action that we're today, we really can't give it any kind of approval.
No sort of action.
We can only give a comment
That's
to travel back to the staff hearing officer, correct? Okay. So if whatever we decide, we're either going to give a positive comment back to the steering officer, back to the staff hearing officer that what they're proposing is appropriate, et cetera, or we're not. But we can take, we're not allowed to take any approval action until the staff hearing officer process is completed. Okay?
So
Right,
you're saying
so-
this is the first time we've seen all these stairways and
No. We're only looking at this piece right here.
the 4-foot extension?
Right, that's all we're looking at, and the staff hearing officer wants to know if we are okay with what's being proposed. So the way the balcony is now is it's out to here. They're going to go out another 4 feet, and currently, that's what I had a question about. These outriggers,
Horrible knee braces. That
knee
are
braces
underneath
are going to go away,
it. That's correct.
and this column will go away.
Correct.
So, and that's being replaced by
4 columns.
these 4 columns. All of these braces
and then
go away.
3 along this side, but it would only be the one that we're looking at
Right.
here.
Okay.
And per comments from the consent calendar, they asked us to pull that back in, I believe, a little bit, and then we straightened up these 2.
And then, so the railing is a railing that's going to match existing railings?
It's gonna be a wrought iron railing.
Okay. And these elements are going to be what, heavy timber?
Those are actually going to probably be steel, painted to look like wood.
So
to match
they're
the-
actually steel columns or
Probably gonna be
steel
No, they'll be columns, tube steel.
Tube steel column. Okay, and then what's this material going to be?
That will be wood.
So
Be
that's
heavy,
wood.
heavy timber.
So we're going to see a bolted connection of some sort?
We may be able to do a knife connection there to get that to be a hidden connection so it looks more like a wood connection.
Okay. And then these are going to come and rest on some kind of concrete?
They'll be on some sort of
Caisson of
caissons
some
with grade
sort?
beams underneath, yes.
A grade beam? Okay. All right. Okay, other questions? Everybody kind of know what's going on here? And so just to go back to your photographs, I want to go back to this one. So what we're looking
These are
at,
context ones here. Do you want to look at these, or do you want to look at the actual house?
let's see, the actual house. Where was those?
The actual house.
So this is the balcony that we're looking at.
That's looking up from underneath. That's the
So
existing
these
knee braces.
knee braces would go away.
Correct.
This would come out another 4-some feet here.
Correct.
And then we'd see 4 columns.
Correct.
And we'd see. somewhere
Screened
over here.
relatively here on that side, but yes,
So, and then there's a new deck coming back along here.
yes, coming back along there.
And, okay, I think that, and those, that's all at the front. Oh, and actually, this changes, this comes out.
Goes out to 4
But it's
feet.
that railing we're looking at.
Correct.
All right, other questions? Ryan?
No, I have no questions, thank you.
Everybody else fine with questions? Okay, then let's go to comments. And again, we're just giving comments, either positive or negative, so that the staff hearing officer has a sense that the board has looked at this.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I think my comments are, I can support, if you go to sheet 2.
2-0.
Yeah. Just from looking at it and the impressions I'm getting, I can support this extension this direction, but I think I wouldn't go more than 2 feet this way. I think 4 feet's a little too much.
What is this to scale? Yeah.
It is to scale.
So right now, it's being proposed as 12 feet, you're saying 10 feet? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay. Comments? Other comments? Yeah, I did drive out here and try to look at this thing, and I think that the series of photographs that were just taken along the street reflect that, but it also turns out you can see this down from APS. In fact, the 2 homes that are up here above the trees, but you don't see much more than what's depicted in that photograph, even from the APS, because of all the foliage below the house and because of the intersection with Franceschi Park. So this is one of these cases where we kind of have an existing view that you see from the city, you see from APS, and then you see directly below the house is this, where this photograph was taken. And you're going to see this railing, it's going to be out 4 feet in front of us as proposed on these drawings. So that's the issue.
Mr. Chair, so, yeah, I agree with the staff hearing officer's concerns and Brian's concerns also. I think because if there's a great big deck, there's going to be big parties on the deck, and so there is some neighborhood impact.
If I can comment on that.
Okay.
Yeah, we're going to speak to the building. You know, whoever lives in this house may have parties, may not have parties, so that's not an issue.
Well, I mean the impact to the neighborhood.
We have to kind of look at it in the long term, regardless of who lives in this house. Lisa, any comments? Joe?
I don't see, our guidelines doesn't oppose having a deck this big, and I don't see anything because basically the whole yard is not being used. It can't be used. I don't see anything wrong with putting a bigger deck up there. It's not being seen. In fact, over the years, the trees are going to grow bigger, and you're going to see less and less of it. I don't see this, and especially this out this way. You might see it from down there and look at the length of it, or the width, out 4 feet, but limiting it is viewed to me. I'm in favor of the project.
Okay, other comments? I'll wait. I think this could be an exception to my general view of decks, just in general, as we've tried to review decks across the city, particularly over on the Mesa and on the ocean side, Shoreline Park, et cetera. Given where this house is, given the surrounding piece of the neighborhood, what dawned on me is this house is sandwiched between 2 very large homes we approved. One that's now under construction just below this, and one that's completing construction just above it. 2 huge properties with huge homes, with massive landscaping changes, et cetera. So, you know, trying to piece this in with neighborhood compatibility is obviously one of our charges. and it's adjacent to a sliver of Franceschi Park. But given the general terrain all along that piece of the roadway, I don't know that it makes, I agree with Joe, I don't think it makes much difference whether it's 2 feet or 4 feet. And so I could probably, in this particular case, support what's being presented.
Was it the consent calendar, the two people on consent that asked you to set the
post back, yes.
set it back?
Yes.
Sorry.
Okay.
I think we could probably look that up too, if the comments. I believe that was.
They'd be on that sheet.
Let's see.
Could you maybe give us also the dimensions of the both, the deck and the other deck?
Square foot.
Yeah, I know it's on there.
It's right here.
I'm going to weigh in on comments also, having been out to the site and seeing how heavily treed the area is, I have to agree that it's really not
12
very
by-
visible.
Looks like about 30.
30 for, we'd say 30 just to make it easy to.
12 by 30.
12 by 30?
Yeah.
This is the back one. And then what about the side? There's an existing deck, right?
No, this is the existing deck, this white piece.
Oh.
Okay. The added decks pieces are
shaded
Okay,
areas.
so 12 by 30, and then what was the other one?
What's the scale of this guy?
This one's 8. Or 1 to 10, actually. I'm sorry. This is, yeah, so I did do that.
So
Yeah,
that's
12.
12 by 21 or 22.
Well, I'm going to stick
By
to my 10
22.
feet. I still think 12 feet is a little too aggressive on the one side. But that's just me.
Okay, so is there further discussion? If not, Chair would look for a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Okay.
I move that we approve the project.
I can't approve. You're
Can't
just
approve it.
making,
Okay.
you're making comments to the staff hearing officer.
I'm
So I would suggest that you put wording in there, the fact that we've reviewed it, that we've taken into consideration whatever you want to consider, and then positive or negative.
I would like to make some comments. My motion is to make comments on the project, that we have reviewed the project. I would like to consider that we have a positive comments to it, that we allow the direction of it to go in the direction that you have shown in the drawings, which is a 4-foot extension of the main deck proposed to the south. And sorry, I forgot.
Okay, you want to make any comments about where the posts are? Right now, they're shown at the edge. And there was some comment at the consent calendar about moving them back under a few feet.
There's existing.
And right now, the poster is at the edge.
Here's the view that you want to see.
This is the
Oh, I'm
front.
sorry,
That's the
wrong,
north.
wrong, yeah. So
south.
they're now sitting back
This is 8.
a foot, it looks like.
Right.
It's something like 10 feet now.
So the posts are back a foot from the edge.
Oh, yeah.
So, okay or not okay?
I think from that elevation, that's not going to make any difference whether it is or not. I mean, and to set them back, nobody's going to see them. They're that's a matter. Then you're a matter of putting a. I think the elevations do not show a beam underneath there.
It's all going to be flush, actually. We're going to flush it out.
You're going to flush it out,
We're going to construct it so we can do it as this.
so you won't see a beam. The beam will be in the.
It'll be in line, because they're basically heavy timbers. They're going to be 6 by 12s or 6 by 10s.
So you're gonna hang that 1 foot out. You're just gonna hang that 1 foot out there.
They'll be cantilevering over, and then at the end, we'll be having between, at the end, we'll bolt back into the end grain of that other additional 6 by 10.
If you're cantiling over, you have to have some beam underneath it,
There still will be.
but it doesn't show in this.
It'll be.
See right
it'll
here?
be right here. It'll be in line with this. We'll make it happen. I mean, I'll show details of that. If you want more details, I can bring more of that too.
And he will be bringing details
Correct.
back once he gets
Yeah.
past the staff hearing officer process. Okay, so is that your motion?
Yes.
That's your motion, okay.
If I could ask the maker of the motion to maybe comment on the acceptability of the visibility of the deck. I think she'll want to hear about that, how visible you thought it was and whether that's acceptable or not.
Okay, meaning we accept the deck the way it's shown on the drawings?
If you think it's acceptable.
I think it's acceptable the way it's shown on the drawings.
I would suggest that you add wording that says that we have reviewed it.
I think I did. I thought I did
No,
show it.
let me finish.
Yeah.
You reviewed it based on the context as it is seen from Franceschi Road, as it's seen from Alameda Padre Serra, and consideration was made as we see it from the city.
Okay.
And that it's
I think
camouflage because of
I
the
think it's
extensive
acceptable as seen from Franceschi Road, Alameda Padre Serra, and from the city.
and the extensive foliage that's
And the extensive foliage that will in the future grow up to camouflage it even more.
Okay. All right, so that's the motion. Okay, that's the motion. Do I have a second to the motion?
Second it.
Okay. Any further discussion to the motion? Okay, hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye?
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed?
Aye.
Did I catch who opposed?
2 and 3.
Yeah, I
Two.
opposed.
Two. Okay, so it
3-2.
passes 3-2. Okay, you can go back to the staff hearing officer. Okay. Okay, any further business before the Single Family Design Board? Before we adjourn, just a reminder, we will have a tour of existing homes that we've approved in the past following our next scheduled meeting.
2 weeks. 2 weeks?
2 weeks, and we'll all be going together in a band. Okay, with that, the chair adjourns.
Here you go.